Welcome. I'm Gayathri and I'm passionate about transformative coaching in the realm of life and leadership. My journey towards coaching started with an educational background in psychology and over 20 years of corporate leadership. Today, my commitment to help unlock limitless possibilities within each individual has culminated in the creation of my organization, Realize to Win. As a certified master coach, my philosophy centers around the power of the human mind and its boundless capacity for growth and achievement. My approach is rooted in the belief that with the right mindset, training, and guidance, there's truly no limits to what you can accomplish. My work is just not about reaching goals. It is truly about redefining the very boundaries of potential. Join me every week on my podcast, Catalyze Your Self, where we can dive into mindsets, experiences, and practical steps that will ignite your transformation towards limitless possibilities. I look forward to connecting with each and every one of you. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Catalyze Your Self. I'm your host, Gayathri, and today we are unpacking a psychological concept that subtly influences many of our interactions. Projection. Many of us, sometimes without even realizing it, project our own feelings, our insecurities, our fears, and even desires onto our external world. It's a defense mechanism that we use without even realizing it, perhaps more often than we realize, and it impacts not just how we view others, but how we understand our own selves. This isn't about avoiding responsibility, it is about truly understanding the stories we tell ourselves and how they shape our own realities. So let us explore the depths of projection and how it works, why we resort to it, and how we can become more aware of it in our daily lives and what we can do about it so we do not deceive ourselves as we live our lives. When we break it down to its simplest level, projection, as I shared, is a defense mechanism that our mind has learned to do. With projection, we take parts of ourselves we don't like, which could be emotions that come up, desires that we have not attained yet, or it could be that we don't even believe that we can attain them. Fears that can come up based on past experiences or what you don't want to become part of your future experiences. We take all of that and make it something others are doing. And why are we doing this? Because it protects us from the potential pain of facing what we don't like about ourselves, or an experience that we went through, or a disappointment of not having achieved something that we wanted. Projection eases the tension in our mind by relocating these unacceptable parts of ourselves to others rather than within us. It's like our mind's way of saying, I don't want to deal with this, so I'll just make it somebody else's problem. But here's the catch. While projection might offer a temporary relief, it distorts our perception of reality, and it can seriously impact our relationships. Let's think about a scenario where one person is accusing someone else of being negative or hostile. And in time, it shows that it was the accuser who was being negative and hostile in the first place. When someone is projecting, it is not just misjudging others, it is about misunderstanding their own selves. At its core, projection can indeed be considered a form of self-deceit. This psychological defense mechanism is essentially denying or distorting reality in order to protect the self from uncomfortable truths by attributing our own unacceptable feelings, motivations, characteristics to others. As I shared a little bit earlier, that person who was feeling aggressive might unconsciously project these feelings onto another person, perceiving the other person as threatening and hostile. This allows the individual to maintain their self image of being non aggressive, effectively deceiving themselves of their own true emotional state. By projecting, we are distorting the reality of our situation to fit our own needs. And we do this so we have a barrier against acknowledging aspects of our own personality, our own behavior and actions that we ourselves find difficult to accept. For example, somebody who cheats might accuse their partner of being unfaithful as a way of deflecting from their own behavior. Projection provides a psychological comfort zone by allowing individuals to avoid direct confrontation with aspects of themselves that they find troubling or unacceptable. It serves as a defense against anxiety or guilt that might come up or arise from facing these truths within themselves directly. However, this comfort is achieved at the cost of genuine understanding of our own self and often at the expense of healthy relationships. Projection can also act as a self fulfilling prophecy, especially when it involves negative experiences. When we project our fears or past traumas onto new situations or relationships, we can set the stage for these scenarios to absolutely repeat themselves. This happens because our expectations can influence our behavior towards others, prompting reactions from them that align with our projections. For example, someone who has experienced betrayal might project trust issues onto their new partners, suspecting them of deceit without cause. This suspicion can strain those relationships, as we can imagine, and potentially leading to the very betrayal the person feared, not because the partner was untrustworthy, but because the projected fears created a hostile or suffocating environment for everyone. Projection is a self defense that is truly a self deceit we absolutely need to unlearn. When it comes to reflecting as part of being mindful and with the growth mindset and self awareness, the one point that I ask my own self and my clients is to ask the question: is projection playing a role? Projection can happen at a subconscious level because it's your mind playing defense. You may not even be aware of it. On the other hand, projection is also used to skew perception deliberately. And when this happens, it is being done consciously or as a choice. Let's look at some things in our daily lives that we can relate to here. Let's take the example of a movie or a TV show. As viewers, we sometimes project our own experiences, our own expectations, and our own emotions onto a movie or a show. For instance, a viewer who has had a negative personal experience related to a theme of a movie might project their discomfort onto the film, criticizing it for the portrayal of that theme, regardless of the film's actual content or intent. In the circle of the viewer's world, there that might not make much of a difference. It could be family, circle of friends, or coworkers. But let's say this viewer is a person of huge influence and has access to millions of people and has the ability to shift mass perception. Now the impact is much bigger. Such a person projects their personal biases onto films or shows. It can shape public perception and conversation around that work in ways that are not necessarily or might not accurately reflect that work's quality or the creator's intentions. Now, this ends up affecting the success of that creator's work, the reputation of the creator, and overall cultural narrative around that particular work. Okay, let's go to a different example. Let's go to a business world. The business world, corporate world, uses projection as strategy to skew public perceptions all the time. If you look, you will find this is more common than not. I was trying to think of an example that a lot of people might be familiar with. And there was this back and forth that happened between Apple and Samsung a few years ago. Many of us would have become aware of it as it made global headlines for a while there. Apple accused Samsung of copying the design and functionality of the iPhone and the iPad. Samsung, in turn, accused Apple of using its wireless technology without permission. This legal battle was not just about specifics of technology and design patents, but it was also about projecting an image that their opponent was unethical or a copycat in the public and legal arenas. Both are successful, huge corporations with large market shares of their own right. But that did not stop both companies from projecting their fears and accusations onto each other, which reflects deeper concerns about competition and market dominance in reality. Apple's projection of Samsung as a copycat was a strategic move to project its market share and innovation reputation. Conversely, Samsung's accusation towards Apple about using its patented technologies without permission were projections that aimed at defending its own innovations and market position. And we all know an arena that uses projection as one of their most prominent strategies: politics. A well known public example of projection that demonstrates how it can distort perspectives is the phenomenon observed in political debates and campaigns. Politicians and public figures often project their own issues, faults, or undesirable qualities onto their opponents. And this is a strategic move to deflect criticism and appeal to their base. When we look at political strategies, we see it very commonly among candidates to accuse each other of behaviors and attitudes that they themselves might exhibit. For instance, a politician who's criticized for unethical behavior might accuse their opponent of something even greater, of an ethical breach. This not only shifts the focus away from themselves, but it also muddies the water, making it harder for public to discern the truth from what is truly manipulation. Regardless of the example, if it's your own personal world, the business world, politics, or some other arena, the broader lesson from such examples is that projection can severely compromise the accuracy of one's perspective, leading to decisions and judgments based on flawed perceptions. It highlights the importance of critical thinking and the need to question and verify information coming our way, especially when accusations and criticism seem to reflect common faults across all parties involved. If you're a regular listener of mine, you've heard this from me before. The one person who should know you the best is you. You are the only human who knows what is happening in your mind, your thoughts, your feelings, what truly matters to you. What others know and see, even the ones closest to you, is what you show them or choose to show them. If you're self aware, you will catch projections being made on you every single time. Now, this will also make you aware when others are projecting onto you. One key factor about projections we have to remember is we learn it as a strategy very early in childhood. Children observe and internalize how their caregivers are handling emotions and conflicts. If caregivers frequently blame others or fail to take responsibility for their emotions, children may learn to project their undesirable feelings onto others as a coping mechanism. Additionally, cultural norms and social expectations can teach individuals to use projection to avoid confrontation or to maintain a certain self image. What we know so far today is that though genetics and hereditary factors could give you predispositions for certain psychological traits, it is your environment that determines how these traits manifest. It's who the humans you have surrounding you that brings out whatever parts of you out. For example, a genetically influenced trait like sensitivity, high sensitivity, can lead to greater use of projection if that individual's environment is stressful or if their emotional responses were not validated during childhood. Now, unlearning a behavior as ingrained as projection requires you to be determined first and make the decision that you will take this journey. And then it requires your intentional effort. As any journey of unlearning, this will not be easy, but it's your determination and perseverance that's going to get you to the other side. It begins with the understanding that just because a response has been learned, it does not mean it is fixed forever. You can unlearn behaviors by consistently practicing new, healthier way of responding to situations. Incorporating a growth mindset is pivotal as we embark on this journey of unlearning projection. A growth mindset, as was defined for us by an amazing psychologist, Carol Dweck, is the belief that our abilities and intelligence can be developed with time, effort, and dedication. I go into growth mindset in depth in my second episode, Power of Your Growth Mindset. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to tune into that one, and I'm sure you will find some good takeaways. Embracing a growth mindset is essential when addressing deep seated habits like projection. It reminds us that our current abilities are not fixed and that we have the ability to grow and change. This perspective is especially empowering as it aligns with the practice of mindfulness, where we observe our behaviors and thoughts without judgment, always open to learning and improving. By fostering a growth mindset, we are reinforcing the idea that every moment of self awareness is an opportunity for significant and personal development and transformation. Let me share a practical approach I came up with to help myself and my clients. It's a three-step process: catch, reflect, recognize. This three-step method is a powerful tool for both identifying projection and starting the unlearning process. So, first step is catch. This is about catching yourself in the moment. When you feel a strong emotional reaction, especially one that feels disproportionate or intense, pause. Catch yourself before the reaction escalates and then reflect. Once you've paused, reflect on that reaction and ask yourself, what is really triggering this response? Is it truly about what the other person did, or am I seeing my own feelings reflected in this situation? Recognize. After reflecting, try to recognize if your response involves projecting your own perspectives onto someone else. This recognition is crucial. It's where that learning and unlearning is happening. Acknowledging that you have been projecting helps you break the cycle of an automatic reaction and starts paving the way for more thoughtful, self aware interactions. By repeatedly practicing these steps, you will gradually shift away from your habitual responses to new ways of responding. You learn to respond to situations based on what is actually happening rather than a distorted lens of projection. Each step you take in this process not only helps in managing projections, but it also deepens your relationship with your own self. It fosters a level of self knowledge and emotional intelligence, emotional regulation that enhances every single area of your life. Now, on the other hand, recognizing when others project onto you can be equally challenging, and it is a crucial skill in maintaining healthy interpersonal relationships. Often, projection from others can manifest as criticism or attributes that don't align with how you see yourself. For example, a colleague might accuse you of being disorganized when in fact it's their own organization that they're unsure about. A leader might accuse you of not completing something on time, and in reality, it was the leader who did not provide you all the information you needed. This dissonance between their perception of you and your self image can be jarring. So, again, if you're self aware and you know yourself the best, you will be able to navigate these scenarios in a much healthier way. The key to managing external projections is not to absorb or own these projections. If you take them on, it might start you on your path to doubting your awareness of yourself and you start feeling unjustly criticized. Instead, approach them as moments that you need to be curious about rather than be defensive about. When someone projects onto you, it is an opportunity for dialogue, not just a challenge to your self esteem. Respond with curiosity by asking open ended questions, which invites that projector to explain their statements more deeply. Questions like, what makes you say that? Can you explain why you feel that way? Are very invaluable here. This approach does more than deflect unjust criticism, it encourages a conversation, communication, and ensuring comprehension of both sides that can lead to that mutual understanding. By asking for elaboration, you not only clarify the situation, but you're providing that projector with an opportunity to reflect on their own motives and feelings. It's possible they haven't even considered their reasons deeply, and your question might be what prompts them to think about whether their reaction is truly about you or it is about something they themselves are dealing with. Take every opportunity to be mindful in your interactions with others. This will position you best to transform potential conflicts into moments of growth for everyone. It shifts the dynamic from accusatory to reflective, and it reduces the likelihood of an escalation of emotions and fosters a more empathetic understanding. The goal isn't to point out that they were projecting. It's never a point, it's never a you, which could lead to defensiveness. It's about helping them guide and yourself towards more self aware conversation. And finally, in these interactions, it is also important to maintain your boundaries. Recognizing projection does not mean you have to accept or tolerate inappropriate behavior. Setting clear boundaries is a healthy response, especially if the projection is hurtful or persistent. It is about sorry, protecting your mental space while also offering a chance for the other person to grow. In closing, to continue growing towards our best self, we need to recognize the self deceit that comes with projections. Regardless of projections that are being made to skew public opinions, projections that you are making towards others in the world, or projections that are being made by those in your world towards you. The fact remains projection is not a constructive strategy. While projection can offer short term relief from internal conflict, it ultimately leads to a lack of personal growth and can harm relationships and your credibility. Misunderstandings and conflicts can arise when others are repeatedly misperceived or unfairly accused. Additionally, continuous self deceit can prevent us from addressing underlying issues, from developing a more authentic and integrated sense of self. As we close today's deep dive into the world of projection, I do invite you reflect this week on the moments you might be projecting onto others or experiencing projection from them. The key here is to remember the goal isn't to judge, but to understand and grow. Understanding projection enhances our emotional intelligence and it enriches our relationships. To reach out to me for life and leadership coaching or to receive highlights of the points that I covered in this session, please feel free to reach out to me. I will include my contact, my emails, and my socials all in the podcast description. Thank you for joining me today in this journey of becoming more aware of ourselves with Catalyze Yourself. I'm your host, Gayathri, and I hope this content resonated with you and that you will choose to share this with those who could also benefit from it. I would also appreciate any feedback you have, as it will help me grow and refine the content better. Until we meet again next week, keep reflecting, keep growing, and as always, keep finding opportunities to catalyze yourself.